If you're feeling like your airwaves are too clogged this season, try Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me as always are my good friends, Gollix and Petty. Let us get to the usual proceedings that we call news. Gollix, why don't you start us off this week?
I don't have anything too major going on this week, I don't think. Getting a bit ready, definitely feeling ready for there not to be political ads on the TV and stuff in about a week.
That's a mood.
I am so sick of the Amendment 4 ad.
Mine's Amendment 3.
On the plus side, there was a neat CGP Grey video about one of our things because we're having a chance to vote on whether Maine will change to a new old flag instead of the extremely generic flag we currently have.
The one that looks like you got off Temu?
It's this at the time. The blue flags with state seal were done intentionally to not outshine the national flag. It's just that that purpose is no longer as important.
Right.
So the fact that they're objectively by standards of what you look at for flags, not actually very good designs.
There are videos on this, yes.
become more apparent. So yeah, I'm hoping whatever else happens, that passes. And I have not really played much video games. I finished Yars Rising.
Oh man.
Haven't really gone into the hard mode of that. You unlock the professional mode, which the main difference seems to be that you can choose your outfit. And I think there's a significant chance that it doesn't let you doesn't let you turn on invincible on the Yard Revenge puzzles. And I think you might take a little more damage, but yeah. I fooled around with that a little bit, but I don't think it was amazing enough that I'm desired to play it. Although it does keep track of all of the things that you've unlocked, and I guess there are some puzzles you only unlock in professional mode, so yeah. Anyway. Other than that, just been playing a little bit of Splatoon 3, and there are certainly a lot of games coming out soon.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season.
Halloween. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the holiday season, so...
Yep. So yeah, that's about what I got.
Well, Petty, you're up.
Well, currently right now we are in a severe thunderstorm warning. Like, the stripe on the radar is pure red for the next, 2 hours. So if the stream suddenly goes off air, I may have lost power, which means the show is probably over at that point. So I guess apologies in advance. As far as life happenings, been a relatively slow week. Me, Ogre, and Golix ran through the Shadow portion of Sonic X Shadow Generations on stream on Friday, and that was fun.
Mm.
Still have some stuff to unlock in that, but it's mostly like the journal and some of the concept art stuff if I want it. Apparently the journal has a lot of deep lore in it now, so that's going to be a thing.
Mm.
They hired a lore team. um I'm thinking Friday if I don't have, assuming, you know, everything's fine, like power wise after the storm and stuff. I may see about getting back into streaming more Digimon World 3, so that's going to be fun. Um, Saturday, I may have a Digimon Win-a-Box tournament to go to. It depends if my buddy can get his car fixed and or replaced. You know how it is. Looks over at Gullix.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing. Um, Supposedly, one of the former owners of the local card shop that closed down just messaged me today, and there's going to be a new card shop opening on the 15th here in town. So I may go check that out, depending on if they're actually going to be stocking Digimon product and whatnot. Um, but yeah, other than that, oh, we did get the new oven put in. It's weird having a modern oven. Mostly because
Mm-hmm.
our old oven was so old, I don't think it regulated the temperature very well and just kind of shot up to max as quick as it could instead of like actually steadily building temperature. So I've been finding some of the things I make in it are a little underdone because I'm timing it for what the old oven would be. So I now need to relearn how to use an oven because I don't have a janky oven that's like 40 years old. So that's just gonna be a thing to deal with. But yeah, as far as like what I've been playing gaming wise, um, I think I'm kind of good on Vampire Survivor for now. Apparently, I have it on Steam, so I'm gonna see if I can find a way to move my save file into the Steam version because I didn't know I had it. And since I own it, I may see about getting some of the DLC if it comes up on sale, like in either the fall or the winter sales. So if I ever get the itch to play again, I can just play it. I also finally broke down and bought Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So that's gonna be something I can deal with at some point. I'm probably just gonna end up reloading my save because it's been so long. I have no idea where I'm at. And I'm pretty early in the game, so it's probably easier just to start over than try and spend 4 hours trying to figure out where I am at.
I mean, the adventure log is fairly
All right, that is in there. I'll poke at
comprehensive.
it if I can quickly discern what I was doing.
It'll
I'll
at
just
least tell you. It'll at least tell you how many things you've done, and how many things you've found
yeah
out about to do that you haven't done yet.
yeah. In worst case, I can always just start over. If it's like if none of
Mm-hmm.
it's ringing any bells, I can always just start over. And I think that's it from me.
Hmm. All right, that means it's my turn. Um, well, the big event for this week is still happening on Friday afternoon, and that is the uh, tree service is coming in to remove the fallen wood in the back. So, um, looking forward to finally having that taken care of. Like, and outside of that, mostly quiet week, although this past weekend was dramatic.
Mm.
I won't go into details, but it's best sum up as when is a divorce ever final?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Like, but that's not a topic I feel like talking about on air.
Right.
Let's see, in terms of gaming, still going through Pillars of Eternity. Finally beat the bonus boss that was giving me some problems. Turns out Wall of Thorns worked really well on him. Like, stupid Archlich. I'm also to the point where my characters are hitting max level. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. Like, I still have, it looks like a significant portion of the game to get through.
And there's no
Like,
like prestige or whatever. Like if you hit max level, you can kind of go over max or whatever.
no, it's just you hit max level and it stops collecting experience points.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and honestly, the last level upgrades were pretty shit.
Hmm.
Like, it's the second to last level that has the like last important upgrades. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of not good. Like, but it is also whatever. Um,
Hmm.
and, and as far as the spooky season, well, it's like it's one of the games I'm reviewing this week. So more on that on Sunday. And so merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is our good friend from MangaGamer, John Pickett.
Hello, it's good to be back again.
It's good to have you, or rather, it's good to have you with a title to actually talk about.
Yeah, we've had a lot of major projects in the works that are pretty lengthy, so it's been taking quite a while. But we have a few that are going to be starting to roll out now. We have Dead Days, the one we're going to be talking about today, coming out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
November, we also have the new sequel story to Steam Prison, Beyond the Steam. We've been working directly with Whonext for that to coordinate simultaneous release there. That'll be out in November. And we have a couple others that are looking like they'll be ready for December and January.
Very good. And of course, we should start with the title that's coming out in a few hours at time of broadcast, and that is Dead Day. Like,
Yes.
I'm assuming this is appropriately Halloweeny. Um,
Yeah. So when I described this to one of my old friends from my anime club at college, he was like, "Oh, so it's Gantz."
oh
Uh,
God,
but in it's
which
another one of our
version of which version of Gantz, the manga or the?
said Fred only really read the manga.
Okay,
But yeah,
I
the
mean,
um,
anyway.
yeah, it's our newest title from Clock Up. It's by the same scenario writer that did No Thank You, Maggot Bates, LKYT, um, and then the Norizane is the artist, so it's slightly new artwork. But the basic idea of the story is these four strangers died one day, and this mysterious man gives them a second chance at life, basically brings them back from the dead, and offers them a chance to live once again. But in order to do so, they now have to do these missions for this mysterious entity where they have to, because they've been brought back from the dead, they're now able to see what these called specters, these like ghost monster things that are like possessing people and infiltrating society. And so these four strangers are basically being told to go out, hunt them down, and kill them. And the the entity kind of gives them tools to do so, like not necessarily like weapons you would think of. I mean, sometimes there's one mission where they actually get like a baseball bat. There's others where they get like scissors.
I mean,
And
that's
for this
still a
next
weapon.
mission, you must chop down the tallest tree in the forest with a herring.
Yeah, so it's, and basically the idea is that if they don't do these missions, then essentially the charge on their new bodies will eventually just burn out and they go back to being dead. So if they don't do these missions, they have to do these missions to keep staying alive. And of course, a side effect of using their new bodies in this way, since basically causes them to have huge spikes of horny.
It would not be a manga game property without that.
Yeah, and of course, so all the different characters, they deal with that in their own different ways.
I'm like, I'm assuming different is in terms of banging.
Yeah, yes, obviously they go find relief for it one way or another. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not like,
Well,
three
so
of
like,
the characters are.
one of the characters, Manami, is actually a housewife. So she tries to hold it until she can get home to her husband, basically.
Mm,
Depending on the choices you make and how the routes play out, that that may or may not last for her. There's sort of there's one of the girls who has a route is kind of a gyaru, and so she can find relief her own way.
I'm like, and how explicit does this one get?
The resignation
I mean,
in his voice.
It gets
Look-
very So it's the actual sex scenes are not as bad as you would expect from something like Euphoria or Maggot Bates. The sex scenes between the characters are not nearly that bad as far as hardcore extreme goes. I mean, it's obviously explicit, very very much easy dicks, balls, comms, all that. But it's, like I said, there's not as much direct connection between the violence and the sex as people who played Euphoria and Maggot Bates might expect. Now, that's not to say that the scenes with violence aren't also graphically violent, because they are. But there's a bit more of a distinction between what's violent and what's sex.
Okay, so overall, it's sounding pretty vanilla, I guess is the word to use, in comparison to, some of the stuff we've talked about over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it vanilla compared to like a dating sim like Princess Evangile or Da Capo, or even Sex Open World. But if your point of comparison is Euphoria and Maggot Bates, yeah, it's a bit more than vanilla than that.
I'm like, okay, that's good to know.
Depending on how much you talk about this stuff, your definition of what's like normal varies.
Well, when
Yeah.
it comes to Manga Gamer, I'm kind of used to something more than just missionary position, or even like switching it
Yeah.
up, being doggy style. You know,
Yeah, and you're going to find that in Dead Days. Like I said, this isn't like the Capo or Princess Evangile, where it's like, oh, hand holding on the bed. Yeah, and Missionary is, one of the height of the scenes. There's
right?
a lot of stuff going on in the scenes, but at the same time, it's not like someone's being hanged by the neck while they're being fucked, like in Euphoria.
Right, right. Which is, and I hope no one wonders why I have resignation in my voice when we talk about this subject, because it can go pretty balls deep, so to speak.
Some people joke about not safe for work, and some of it's not safe for life.
Not
Yeah,
safe for soul. Like,
yeah, I've seen the not safe for life tag. Yeah, that might be that might describe maggot baits, but I don't think that describes Dead Days. Definitely not safe for work, but it's
yeah,
not safe for life.
indeed.
At least not
Like,
the sex scenes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I am fully justified in my trepidations.
I'm aware.
Like, um, so now that we've got that line established, I'm assuming that in terms of um, partnering up, we're we're getting up to probably one guy, three girls fucking.
So of the four characters that are killed and sort of wake up together, there's one is the main character, one is actually another guy, and then there's the two girls, the Gyaru, and then the Banami, who's the married woman. But in the game, there are four different routes. The two girls that you wake up with are two potential routes. The uh, third potential route is with the main character's childhood friend, who's actually not directly roped into all the like stress and violence of the hunts that the other four characters are roped into. And then the uh, fourth one, she is a heroine that shows up later in the game. So I won't say too much about her yet, but you do see glimpses of her in the opening video that's available on YouTube.
I see. I'm like, I feel like there should be a penalty flag thrown down for the childhood friend actually getting action here. That is that is violating the laws of anime and manga. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, and in terms of the routes, is that just in determining who you fuck, or does that have an effect on the like missions that you undertake or the overall story?
So each character very much has their own storyline once the routes branch off. Like I said, stuff between the married woman and her husband, obviously if you go down her route, something's got to happen there, but
Uh,
that obvious and that doesn't come up in any of the other routes if you go down those. So
okay.
there are each character's that you pursue, their route is very different, and the outcomes are quite different.
I feel like seeing Mr. and Mrs. Jones now. But anyway, so in terms of the individual routes, do you have to play them all in order to open up a true path, or are these routes all, self-contained branches?
I believe they're all self-contained branches. Yeah.
Okay. It's actually probably more notable when a visual novel does that instead of, each route is a fragment of the story, and, that's just leading to the true path.
Yeah, like Euphoria's 1-2 route
Mhm.
ending. Yeah.
Like, and in terms of the actual betting, like, is that optional, or is that actually a baked-in part of the story?
It's a very baked in part of the story. Like I said, especially early on when the
Mhm.
characters, it's not like the voice tells them that they're going to have this arousal spike from doing these missions. They find out after the fact. So kind of have
God.
to figure out how to deal with it very quickly. And
Well, I
but
suppose that opens up another question here. I'm like, is that something that can only be um, released via intercourse, or does masturbation take uh, relieve the pressure?
um I think there's probably are a few masturbation. At least I think the other guy that's in the scenario deals with it that way, but
Hmm.
um and it's still pretty hard to resist, especially if there's opportunity available. Like that's how unnaturally high it is for them. But
Well, I
like I
mean,
said, early on at least, the wife is able to like take it home. But and so there are also a couple scenes in the game, especially early on in the common route, where you see that, where you see the quote unquote
that's what I was.
heroines dealing with it with the people that they deal with when it's not the main character.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. I'm like, there's probably some single girl scenes, as they're called. Like, so, and um, I suppose I should also ask point blank here: do the two guys ever fuck?
I No, I don't think so. No.
Ah, I see. This game also shows cowardice.
I To be fair, this author did write the BL games No Thank You and LKYT. So it's not like the author or the studio has any qualms going there. That's just not what they did for this game.
Duly noted, but I'm also noting it's a very heterocentric game. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
If people want
and
to get guy on guy, like I said, we have No Thank You, we have LKYT. They're both great.
uh,
And we also have
and
Naked Butlers, you know?
uh, and how long will it take a person to get through a route?
The overall game is your standard length visual novel. So depending on read time, about 40 to 60 hours divided by 4. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. And how much in the terms of production values are there? Because on the website, this is a fairly expensive visual novel.
Yeah. Production wise, it's very much on par with Euphoria, Magapates, and everything, all the
Mhm.
other games that people would. It's all the quality that people would expect from Clock Up. So,
Right. I'm noting the specification here: full voice and without mosaics, which I'm assuming means it's not being sold in Japan.
no. Yeah, we've uncensored it for Western release. Yes.
And once again, this particular game comes out in a few hours.
Yep, it comes out tonight at midnight Eastern time.
Okay. And I'll note the price here is, well, it's going to be an introductory price of $38.20, but its normal price is $44.95, which I think puts it among the most expensive visual novels we've featured on the program thus far. Like,
I think you've covered a few of our full price titles before, though.
right? That's why I use the word among.
Yeah.
Certainly on the higher end. Like, anyway, so not the only visual novel we have to talk about today. As you mentioned, that the follow-up to Steam Prison is coming out in December.
Yeah.
So is
November.
sorry, November. So is this a proper sequel, or is this another like DLC package? Is it a standalone expansion pack? What are we doing here?
So it is. You buy it standalone. It's not like you have to have the original game to play it. As far as the storyline goes, it is because there's two different main stories within this sequel. One is the sequel that takes place directly after the canon ending, the quote unquote grand ending of the original Steam Prison. And the second story is basically a what if alternative story to the original Steam Prison that focuses on the character Sashen, assuming, and in that sort of what if scenario, it assumes that he was the one who met the main heroine Saris instead of Ines, leading to her getting involved with the hounds and that sort of underbelly of the city in the original. But yeah, so going back, the main sequel, what they call the Cain Abel story. In that one, the main heroine Cirrus and her party of handsome men journey to this new desert kingdom known as Cain Abel, where she meets with either the younger king or the older king, the two brothers that are set to inherit the kingdom based on the decisions that she makes early in the game. And each of those two brothers, they have very different storylines, dealing with two very different problems that are simultaneously plaguing the kingdom of Cain Abel.
Like, okay, I'm mildly amused that that the new kingdom is called Cain and Abel. Like, is that supposed to be like one word?
It's one word in this game.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So I guess this would be quantified as a standalone spin-off of the original Steam Prison, like, or like an individual character focus. Like, there's a few designations, but
Yeah. Like I said, I
it,
say sequel just because the Cain Abel story is probably the majority of the game as far as actual plot and storyline content goes, and that is a direct sequel to the ending of the first.
I see. I'm like, and outside of the story, are there any sort of new mechanics?
Yes, so
New, okay.
there's a new mini game, Petite Prison. It's like a voiced spot the difference mini game. I know one of the things that they have, Hunex has been excited to emphasize it that there is, in the sequel, there's a chance for people to finally see Cirrus get married to one of the many different men that she can end up with.
I'm like, and how do I put this? Is there like a canonical pairing, or is this very much it's whoever you pick?
It, yeah, it's very much whichever uh, guy you focus on.
Okay.
Like I said,
And
story plot wise, the main story follows, like I said, for Cain Abel, the main storyline follows either the younger or the older king, depending on what are the choices you make early on in the game. But as far as which man Cyrus ultimately ends up with, that's based on your choices and who you focus on.
hmm, that makes sense. I'm like, and is this game about the same length as the original Steam Prison? Is it longer? Is it shorter?
It's probably about the same length.
Hmm,
That's my understanding. I'll admit it's one of our company's first time dealing with a simultaneous release, so that's been
Has
exciting.
that been, yeah, has that been more difficult, or I'm like more hectic?
A little bit more hectic, but I wouldn't say it's been that much more difficult. Hunex has been very good about getting the materials and stuff to us as we needed, but it does mean that there are stricter timelines, and we have had cases where edits and changes have been made, and so those have had to be adjusted, and making sure we
Okay.
have the PR text localized for their marketing plans, and just making sure everything's lined up. So it's been something different, but it's been fun.
Well, that's good, I suppose. Better than have it being, a soul crushing slog or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, and does it have a specific date yet?
Uh, yes, it is. I'm trying to look it up. I know it's November. I'm trying to remember the exact day. I know it's the end of. It's November 28th. Yes.
Hmm. So a month from now.
Yep. Basically, I think that's actually Thanksgiving Day. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Thanksgiving.
ooh, that might be a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
released on Thanksgiving.
like, hmm. Well, uh, good luck to you. Releasing that on Turkey Day. Like, um, and I think you mentioned that you have a couple more visual novels in the works. Can you elaborate on those yet, or are those still needing to be in the shadow?
Um, I don't want to say anything quite yet. But I should hopefully be able to say something within the next month or two. We will definitely be posting the announcements on our feeds, our Twitter, our blog, our Blue Sky, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any more conventions lined up um, in like
We
November?
since Anime New York actually happened in August this year, we are actually done with convention season until it starts back up again next year with Anime Central as our first one of 2025.
Oh man.
Hmm. January or February?
Uh, Anime Central, I believe, is in May.
Hey, that's a bit of a distance.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I've run through my gamut of questions. Petty Gallix, do you have anything further for John?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think I've had everything answered.
All right. Well, John, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on the broadcast. And indeed, it was very good to have something of substance to talk about once again. And
Yeah.
indeed, let
No,
us know when those next visual novels are ready to be talked about, and we'll do this usual scheduling.
sounds good. Yep. And we hope people will enjoy Dead Days when it releases in a couple hours. And we
Mhm.
also hope our Otomi fans will enjoy Steam Prison when it releases next month.
Indeed.
You can find both games on our website. Steam Prison will also be available on Steam. And if people don't want to buy Steam Prison on PC for whatever reason, like I said, Hunex is also releasing it on the Nintendo Switch using our localization, so people can enjoy it there too.
All right, then. So, Petty, play us to the next segment. All right. Um, Welcome to the topic of discussion for the week. So, this time around, we are talking about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Because Grand Theft Auto San Andreas just hit 20 years. Like, and
Hmm.
I'm sure that's a memento mori for some people out there in the audience. You know,
I was 12 when it came out.
like, indeed. Now you're 32.
Yes. Weird how time works.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, anyway, sorry. Someone decided to contact me during the show,
Oh,
but
that's fun.
uh, anyway. So Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Um, in some ways, this is really a game that needs no introduction because it's the PlayStation 2's highest selling game.
Hmm.
Um, and not just the PlayStation 2. Like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas has seen a slew of re-releases. Honestly, probably the most re-releases out of the PlayStation 2 trilogy, because not only did you have the initial PlayStation 2, and Xbox, and PC releases back in the day, then you had the strange Xbox 360 re-release.
Hmm.
It's like it would probably be quantified like a modern day remastering. Um, a poor one at that, from what I understand, because they didn't really do anything with the graphics. But what did get done is some of the songs got taken out. I'm like,
Because licensing.
yep. More on that in a bit. And then we had the mobile ports of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and and I think there were a couple of those. Um, but San Andreas did get released to the iOS and Android platforms last decade.
Hmm.
Like, I've heard mixed things about the Grand Theft Auto on iOS ports. Some people like them because Grand Theft Auto translated well into a mobile setting in terms of play style. I.e., you could boot up the app, mess around in GTA, whatever, for 5 minutes, and then your bus is here, or
Yeah.
whatever you were waiting for. On the other hand, this is a full-on console game, um, and it didn't particularly play well on mobile devices. Yes, it does have it does have Bluetooth controller support, but that's a very niche thing, especially like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think that's ever been a thing that's been like even remotely mass market. Like, and of course, the last free release is the very, very inappropriately named Grand Theft Auto: The Definitive Edition. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy. Um, and it was just a very, very broken port in a myriad of manners. But talking less about that, and from what I understand, things have gotten somewhat better, but it's still got endemic problems, like it's still using AI upscaling and the problems there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, it's still, doesn't have all the music, and that's just something that's never going to happen. Like, for example, the Michael Jackson estate does not want anything to do with the Grand Theft Auto games ever again. I forget the reason, but I just know that is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, thankfully, I have the old versions of those games on my Steam account. So if I want to go play them, I can do so and still listen to the old music.
Unless they decide to make that impossible at some point.
Right, but they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. It's just frustrating that that's possible now.
I'm aware. It's possible, but it's also kind of impossible.
The issue
Because
now be more if Windows updated to the point where it can no longer run the code for the game anymore. Like we've had that happen with games from like the Windows
right,
9X era where they're just incompatible with modern Windows to the point where it's, yeah, you technically own it, but you can't do anything with it unless you have a computer of that vintage.
not helped is the fact that Rockstar is one of the more litigious companies out there. They have gone after a lot of mods for one reason or another. I'm like, one of the reasons being they don't like the idea of the old games being modded to play more easily on modern systems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, that is a terrible practice, and I wish they would stop doing that. Like,
Especially when the modded versions look better than their AI upscaled versions, which is hilarious.
but not unexpected. Like, that being said, what you like, it would be very much recommended that you mod the hell out of not just Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, any of the PlayStation 2 era Grand Theft Auto games, because they are very creaky, and not just in terms of their graphical fidelity. But I suppose a bit on the graphics of San Andreas and indeed the PlayStation 2 GTA game. First of all, the games were done in renderware, so they have a bit of that renderware look. But it's not it's not as distracting as say the Unreal Engine sheen that appears in various iterations. You know what I'm talking about, or
Mm-hmm.
the Unreal Engine pop-in, like. But Grand Theft Auto was never a looker on the PlayStation 2.
Right.
That you know that is to say, the focus of Rockstar back then was was being able to get as big a world as you could get out of the power of the PlayStation 2.
Well,
It
particularly
wasn't
on a
until
single disc.
I forget if they achieved that with San Andreas.
San Andreas, I believe, was one disc for the PS2 version. Let me make sure on that.
Yeah. But anyway, it wasn't until the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era that Rockstar really started to emphasize not just graphical fidelity, but graphical detail, which has culminated in their just insane focus on like Red Dead Redemption 2. But
Yeah, San
that's a tale
Andreas
for
was a
another
single
day.
disc game on the PS2.
Yeah, and that is actually pretty remarkable because
Mm-hmm.
San Andreas is um, kind of insane because um, it's using stock PlayStation 2 hardware. Well, of course it is because we're in the disc era. You can't add co-processors to disc.
You can't, but there were each revision of the PS2 added more RAM.
Hmm. Well, the PlayStation 2 didn't never broke lineage.
Yeah.
There
There was
wasn't
never
a
a
PlayStation.
PS2 Pro or, you know, X or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a hardware refinement, but it was strictly a cost-saving one,
Right.
not a performance-improving one.
Yeah. Anyway, and I do remember that Rockstar was going very hard with the size of San Andreas because it's truly staggering how big this world is and how much detail and um, indeed you can find a lot of the detail that Rockstar's known for in this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's at a it's dealing with graphics that are kind of ugly these days.
Yeah, unless you're playing it on a PS2 on a CRT, it's not going to look good.
Not really, no. But even then, this is the point I'm getting at here. Like, the PlayStation 2 Grand Theft Auto games look pretty shit, even for PlayStation 2 games. And that is because Rockstar's focus wasn't on, the actual graphical fidelity. There was just no way to get worlds of this size, especially San Andreas, because San Andreas is three, full cities and also a bunch of stuff in between. It's a whole region.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not it's not I'm not sure if it's the first of its kind for the sixth generation, but it's still mightily impressive and going just above and beyond what everyone else was doing at that moment in time. Like, and it's also it's not empty space necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of empty space because like you're driving out in the desert, and the desert's just going to be fairly empty.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a whole bunch of stuff to do, from finding all the hidden gang tags to the races to doing video blackjack.
All
To
of the
hidden
audio.
Well, yeah, to just driving around listening to the radio station. And the radio stations are also a bit more dynamic in this in San Andreas because one of the cheats that GTA 3 and Vice City did was the radio stations were actually one big MP3.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the individual pieces are MP3s this time around.
Mm.
Also, a neat thing with San Andreas is if you don't feel like listening to one of the radio stations, you can add your own custom soundtrack with the PC version.
Yeah. I mean, also kind of with the 360 version, but that's just a built-in function with the 360.
Right. Anyway, so Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is some people's favorite Grand Theft Auto from this time or even ever. How much of that is going to be dependent on how much you like early 90s gang culture and all the milieu therein? Like, if you really like hip hop, rap, um trying to remember, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, any sort of those movies from around that time, you'll be like a pig in shit here. Because it does follow in the trend of what Grand Theft Auto Vice City was doing, and that is being a reflective time capsule of the past, very specifically the past, because Grand Theft Auto 3 was present day, present time. It's reflective of 2001. Whereas, Vice City and San Andreas are directly invocating the past.
Or at least retroness.
No, like it wasn't retro for the sake of being retro either. Like they had a specific kind of story they were telling here, because in terms of real world influences, lot of heavy topics, L.A. riots, and the Rodney King beating, the Rampart scandal, huge influence on it. If you don't know what the Rampart scandal is, it's one of the biggest corruption case in police history.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole fucking thing that I don't have time to get into.
There are large Wikipedia articles on that. If you are interested, go have fun.
But it is absolutely part of the core of what's going on here. Like the Officer Tenpenny, cited as one of video games' greatest villains. He's right out of that fucking mold. Also worth noting, he is voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, he has, it's the rare villain role for him, and he's definitely the most interesting character of the group, of the game. But of course, CJ is no slouch in that department, as he is a fully formed character, like Tony Versace, previously. As opposed to Claude, who did not have a name, did not have a personality in the actual GTA 3. That is something that actually got defined in this title, because the GTA trilogy on PlayStation 2 is connected. That's the advantage of having 3 different time periods. You can have characters appear in 2 or even all 3 of the games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is a game that you could actually talk about for hours, because there's so much to do and so much to see. Like there's everything from the infamous jetpack mission, to Area 69, to the improvements that the little and not so little improvements, like this is the PlayStation. The amount of flying vehicles you can play in this game are are expanded from the previous two, and you can actually swim in this game.
That's always a
fucking
nice bonus in
Yeah.
sandboxy games when the water isn't just a sorry you can't go here zone.
Well, it's also Rockstar was getting dissed for it. I don't mean just by the populace. Like we were having Driver 3 made reference to the fact that none of the Grand Theft Auto protagonists could swim. So they were legitimately getting insulted for it in kind of a diss track rapper way, which is really weird to think about, but it was there. Anyway, I guess in terms of GTA for me, I think Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is the best GTA game mechanically on the PlayStation 2. And I also like it a ton more than Grand Theft Auto 4. I'll be honest, Grand Theft Auto 4, I've never been able to get into because first of all, the PlayStation, the PC port is awful, but it's also it's got that heaviness to it that a lot of Gen 7 games have. That realistic movement that made you feel like you were moving a heavy goods truck. I hate it. Like, but and there's there's more that I hate about Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't like the cynicism. I don't like the just the grim tone. But on the other hand, like in terms of eras and stylings, I do prefer Vice City on that level. Like I prefer all of the 80s music to a lot of the 90s music, though. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas does have a very eclectic mix. It's not just rap, hip hop, or even pop. Like one of the probably the most famous memes out of San Andreas is
You're breaking up a bit,
showcasing.
Adam.
How about now?
Think you're better now.
All right. Anyway, like I said, it does go beyond the 90s in terms of its music. And that's how a lot of people discovered a lot of old bands back 20 years ago. I'm like, yeah, it was 1971. So it's on the Horse with No Name, right on the edge of the 60s and the 70s, which would explain a lot. Like, anyway, I think that'll about do it for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas here. Happy 20th. May you get a remake or remastering that is actually worthy of your legacy. Like, look, it's fucking like Rockstar has been phoning in their remasterings for a while now, and I'm like,
And may it include and may it still include the good music.
Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for today's episode. Coming up on the week ahead, as previously mentioned, we do not have an episode of MSP slated for today. But coming up on November 1st, we'll be having Chaos Monger of Chaos Monger Studio. And I hate it when I have I lose the page. Pa, pa, pa. No. Steam. So we'll be looking at a few games, but the highlight is going to be Speed Rollorama. Speedolama. I think that's how that's pronounced. It's SPEEDOLLAMA. So, and that's all mashed together. So I'm assuming it's pronounced Speedolama, which yes does feature llamas, but isn't a high octane racing game like you would think. It's a fast platformer shooter that sets a new benchmark for speed in the game. I guess on Friday. And coming on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Block Challenge, Guardians of the Sanctuary, Drive Rally, and Sanitarium. So look for that. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.